Have you ever wondered why those who don't chase attention become the center of attraction? Why true strength lies not in pursuing, but in standing aside? Allow me to reveal a secret that will shift your perception of the world and the people around you. This video is based on the philosophy of Nietzsche and will be intriguing and valuable to those who dare to see the world from a different angle, whether you are passionate about philosophy or are just about to begin exploring it. Well then, let's begin. You run. You chase. You strive to grasp that which flees from you. And yet, the moment your fingers tighten around it, it dissolves like mist, slipping through your hands, leaving you exhausted, empty, betrayed by the very desire that propelled you forward. This is the fate of those who pursue. But power does not belong to those who chase. It belongs to those who are chased. Look at the predator in the wild. It does not howl in desperation, nor does it beg for the attention of its prey. It waits, motionless, watching. The weak scurry, the desperate lunge forward, the uncertain hesitate at the edges of their ambition, but the one who stands still commands them all, not through words, not through force, but through the weight of their presence alone. Indifference is not the absence of desire. It is the mastery of it. The one who stands apart, unmoved by the chaos, exerts an invisible force upon the world. They do not scream to be noticed, and yet all eyes turn to them. They do not demand, and yet they receive. Their silence roars louder than the cries of the desperate. Their stillness is not weakness. It is the quiet arrogance of one who knows that the world will come to them in time. History bows to such figures. The masses, in their ceaseless hunger, are drawn to those who deny them. The moment you step back, the moment you cease to chase, the moment you no longer reach, everything that once evaded you begins to orbit in your gravity. This is not magic. This is not mystery. This is the eternal law of power. And so you must ask yourself, will you be among the desperate, running in pursuit of illusions, or will you be the one who stands still, unshaken, indifferent, and in the end victorious? Indifference is not weakness, but the highest form of control. They will tell you that to feel nothing is to be empty, that to detach yourself is to surrender, that the absence of fire within you is a sign of defeat. Do not believe them. They are slaves to their own impulses, creatures of reflex and reaction, pulled by invisible strings they do not see. Their rage burns, their love consumes, their fear shackles them. They call this life. They call this passion. But you know better. To be truly alive is not to be ruled by flame, nor to be frozen in lifeless ice. It is to stand between them, untouchable, neither consumed by the fire of impulse, nor paralyzed by the cold of apathy. This is not weakness. This is not absence. This is control. A man who burns is a man who is used. He loves too much, and so he is broken. He hates too much, and so he is led. He fears too much, and so he is conquered. But the one who walks in balance, who neither lunges toward nor recoils from the world, he is untouchable. He does not beg for love, nor does he flee from rejection. He does not seek conflict, nor does he cower before it. He does not chase, nor is he chased. He simply is. And in this, he rules. For what is power if not control? And what is control if not the ability to remain unshaken in a world that trembles? The weak will call it coldness, for they do not understand it. The desperate will call it arrogance, for they cannot reach it. But those who see, those who truly see, will know it for what it is, not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of it. Be neither fire nor ice. Burn too hot, and you will be consumed. Freeze too solid, and you will shatter. Walk between them, steady and silent, and watch as the world bends around you. You are the center of your universe. They have lied to you since the day you took your first breath. They have told you that to live for others is noble, that to bend, to accommodate, to sacrifice is the highest virtue, that your worth is measured by how much of yourself you are willing to give away. And so you shrink. You fold yourself into smaller shapes, make room where there is none, dim your light so that others may shine. You orbit them, Friends, lovers, strangers, their expectations, their judgments. You become a moon, reflecting borrowed light, never your own. But you are never born to orbit. You are born to burn. Look at the stars. They do not move for the planets. The planets move for them. A star does not chase. A star does not beg to be seen. It exists in its own unshakable gravity, and because of this, everything else is drawn to it. You are no different. You are not a supporting character in someone else's story. You are not a mirror for their desires. Your purpose is not to fit into their world. It is to build your own. And if they are worthy, they will come. Not as masters, not as judges, but as visitors, humbled by the force of your presence. This is not arrogance. This is not cruelty. This is the highest truth. The moment you stop seeking, stop chasing, stop contorting yourself to fit the mold of another's expectation, is the moment you become undeniable. The world does not turn for those who beg. It turns for those who command. So step forward, stand still, and let the universe shift around you. They always feel when you don't care. Need repels. Desire chokes. The moment you extend your hands, the moment you reach, the world recoils. This is the great paradox of power. Those who chase are the first to be abandoned, and those who stand unmoved become the ones who are pursued. Indifference is a force stronger than attraction. It unsettles. It disturbs. It creates a void that must be filled. When you care, when you reveal hunger, when you make it known that you seek, you place yourself beneath that which you desire. You become predictable, expected, small. But the moment you withdraw, the moment you no longer strive, something shifts. The air tightens. The game changes. Because people are drawn not to what is given freely, but to what is withheld. A love that is assured becomes a love that is taken for granted. A presence that is constant becomes background noise. But uncertainty, distance, the quiet suggestion that you could disappear at any moment, that is what commands attention. They will not be able to name it, but they will feel it. A quiet tension beneath the surface. An itch in the mind that cannot be scratched. Why are you not looking? Why are you not chasing? Why do you not care? They will create stories, invent reasons, search for hidden meanings in your silence, because the mind abhors a vacuum, and you, by refusing to be grasped, have become one. This is how kingdoms fall, how hearts are broken, how obsessions are born, not through force, not through pleading, but through the quiet, immovable certainty of one who does not need to be chosen. And so they will chase you, not because you asked them to, not because you begged, but because you did not. Ignoring is not revenge, it is an art. Weak men strike back. Fools argue. The desperate beg to be understood. But the one who truly holds power does nothing at all. This is the great secret. Action is not always strength, and silence is not always weakness. The moment you fight, you have already lost. You have acknowledged the other, stepped into their world, allowed them to define the battlefield. But to ignore, to refuse engagement, that is not surrender. That is dominance in its purest form. When you ignore, you create a void, and the void is unbearable. The human mind cannot tolerate absence. It must fill it, explain it, struggle against it. Your silence becomes louder than words, your absence heavier than presence. They will twist, they will wonder, they will rage, but all of it will be in vain, for you are not there. And what is more terrifying than an enemy who refuses to fight? Revenge is for those who are still invested. To ignore is to show that the battle itself is beneath you. You do not justify. You do not react. You do not lower yourself to the level of those who crave your attention, because attention, whether in love or in hate, is a form of tribute. And you, standing above it all, are far beyond the need to pay tribute to the insignificant. And so they will come to you, not as conquerors, but as the conquered. Because the hardest enemy to defeat is the one who refuses to acknowledge the war. Stop pleasing, Start dictating the rules. The moment you bend, you break. The moment you seek approval, you place yourself beneath those whose validation you crave. And the world does not respect what is easily obtained. Look around you. Everything of worth is guarded. Gold is buried deep beneath the earth, hidden from desperate hands. Power is encased in walls, locked behind gates, accessible only to the few. Even in nature, the most formidable creatures do not chase, they are chased. The lion does not beg to be feared. The throne does not ask to be revered. Their mere existence commands it. But you have been taught to please, to soften your edges, to make yourself agreeable, adaptable, available, and so you lower your voice. You nod when you should remain silent. You agree when you should refuse. You mold yourself into whatever shape is required, and in doing so, you become nothing. Because that which is too easy to have is too easy to discard. You must unlearn this. You must become the one who dictates, not the one who follows. You must set the terms, draw the boundaries, make yourself scarce, not out of cruelty, but out of power. For what is valuable is never abundant, and what is abundant is never valued. Make them wait. Make them wonder. Let your presence be a privilege, not a given. And watch as the world, once indifferent, now turns its gaze toward you, not as a beggar to be appeased, but as a force to be reckoned with. Learn to leave first, the magic of sudden disappearance. Power is not in how you arrive, it is in how you leave. To vanish before they are ready. To slip away before they expect it. To walk away without a word, without hesitation, without looking back. This is the final, most devastating act of control. The world is built on the assumption that you will stay, that you will linger, explain, negotiate, beg to be understood. They expect you to hesitate, to give them time, to wait for their permission to leave. And so they grow comfortable, arrogant, certain that you will always be there, waiting, available, predictable. But the moment you leave first, you shatter their reality. You break the rhythm they took for granted. You create a void so sudden, so absolute, that it forces them to feel your absence more than they ever felt your presence. A slow departure can be ignored. A hesitant retreat can be dismissed. But a sudden disappearance, clean, sharp, unannounced, is unforgettable. The human mind abhors unfinished stories. It craves resolution, closure, a final act where everything is explained. But you give them nothing. No farewell speech, no slow fade, no opportunity to prepare. Only absence. And in that absence, they are left grasping, haunted by the question, why? That question is your legacy. That question makes you immortal in their mind. Because those who leave first are never forgotten. Those who vanish at the height of their presence become myths. And myths are far more powerful than memories. Do not explain, do not justify, do not prove, explanations diminish you. The moment you explain yourself, you place your worth in the hands of another. The moment you justify, you lower yourself, as if seeking permission to exist as you are. And the moment you try to prove your value, you admit that it is in question. But power is silent. Authority does not explain itself. The lion does not justify its roar. The storm does not beg to be believed. The mountain does not argue its own existence. They simply are. And so must you be. They will demand explanations. They will ask why you do what you do, why you are the way you are. They will seek to pull you into the courtroom of their judgment, to force you to plead your case, to defend yourself as if you owe them understanding. But you owe nothing. Every word of explanation is a crack in your presence. Every justification is an admission of doubt. To explain is to invite debate, to open the door for others to decide whether you are right or wrong, worthy or unworthy, strong or weak. And once you invite them in, once you let them sit in judgment, you are no longer in control. Instead, be the enigma. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. Let them talk amongst themselves, searching for meaning in your silence, trying to decipher a code that does not exist. Their confusion is your power. Their uncertainty is your throne. Because what cannot be grasped, what cannot be fully understood, becomes something greater, something that lingers, something that commands respect, something that haunts. Do not explain. Do not justify. Do not prove. Simply exist. And let the world struggle to understand you. The less you speak, the more they listen. The power of rare words. You speak too much. You explain too much. You fill the silence with words, as if they could defend you, justify you, make you more understood. But what is spoken to often loses its power. Words are like fire. When they are used too freely, they burn out. And when they burn out, they are no longer feared or revered. But what if you spoke less? What if you allowed silence to become your ally, your most potent tool? The less you speak, the more your words carry weight. A man who speaks often is like the wind, constant, familiar, and easily ignored. But the man who speaks rarely, his words are like thunder, sudden and impossible to ignore. Every syllable he utters becomes a rare treasure, worth pausing for, worth reflecting on, worth remembering. Think of the great figures of history, the ones whose words shaped the world. Did they speak often? No. They spoke when they had something of value to say, something that would shake the foundations of those who listened. Their words were not a stream, but a well deep, rich, and lasting. And when they spoke, all ears turned to them, for no one knew when the next truth would come. You must become the same. You must learn to master silence and to speak only when your words can command attention. When you speak sparingly, people listen with more intent. They hang on every word, because they know that they do not come often. And this is where your true power lies, not in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your silence. So speak less, but speak with purpose. Let each word resonate with the weight of all that is unspoken, and watch as the world leans in to hear what only you can say. Do not answer immediately. Create pauses. Let them wait and wonder. There is power in stillness. There is strength in silence. And the more you speak, the more you give away. In a world constantly rushing to fill every moment with words, the one who holds back possesses the deepest control. When you are asked, do not rush to answer. Do not feel the compulsion to fill the space with your voice, to satisfy the hunger for resolution. Instead, create the pause. Let the air hang heavy with anticipation. Let their minds race, filling the void with their own questions, their own interpretations. They will seek to understand you, but they will not be able to. The longer you remain silent, the greater the weight of your words when they finally come. In this silence, you become the center of their thoughts. You command the room not by speaking, but by not speaking. You become the puzzle they cannot solve, the question they cannot answer. In the gap between your words, you grow larger. They will begin to hunger for your next move, your next thought, your next gesture, because they realize that it is no longer them in control of the conversation. It is you. Every moment of silence you offer is an opportunity for them to wonder, to imagine, to project their own thoughts and desires onto you. You become not just a person, but an idea, an enigma, something to be dissected and admired from every angle. The more you withhold, the more they will crave. And in that craving, you hold the power. So let them wait. Let them fill the space with their assumptions and questions. And when you finally speak, your words will have weight. They will hang in the air like a revelation, a gift they have waited for, and that is what will make them listen. Because they will know that what you say is not to be taken lightly. Each word is deliberate, each pause is purposeful, and you in your silence are the one who commands them. Look at people, but never cling to your gaze. How to create an aura of mystery. The eyes are the gateway to the soul, but they are also the first betrayer of your intentions. In a world that constantly seeks connection, where everyone is desperate to be seen and understood, there is a profound power in withholding. When you look at someone, do not fix your gaze. Do not stare. Let your eyes linger, but always move on. Let them sense your attention without ever fully grasping it. A lingering glance is far more powerful than an unbroken stare, because the absence, the mystery of what is not fully revealed, creates an insatiable hunger in the other. To look and yet not hold is to withhold a part of yourself. You offer just enough to make them wonder, just enough to ignite their curiosity, but not enough to satisfy it. The more you make them feel that they cannot fully reach you, the more they will be drawn to you. You become the unreachable, the untouchable, the one who holds something back, who gives only a glimpse and then retreats. It is in this subtle dance that you create your power. To look at them without clinging to your gaze is to allow them to be drawn in, to let them fill in the gaps with their own desires, their own interpretations. They will begin to weave stories about you, imagining what lies beneath the surface, searching for meaning in the moments where your eyes met theirs. This is how you become a mystery. You do not need to speak to be understood. You do not need to reveal yourself to be known. By simply offering glimpses, by simply looking without fully engaging, you invite them into your world while keeping the door just out of reach. You become an enigma, something they long to solve, but cannot. And in that mystery, in that withheld part of you, they will find power. Stop reacting to provocations. The weak spark, the strong stay silent. To react is to admit powerlessness. When provoked, the weak flare up, their emotions spilling over like fire, desperately seeking to be heard, to be acknowledged, to be validated in the chaos of their own insecurity. But the strong, the truly powerful, remain still. They understand that the greatest control lies not in retaliation, but in restraint. In the heat of a provocation, there is an invitation to lose yourself, to fall into the trap of emotional upheaval. The provocateur seeks to draw you in, to ignite something within you, to watch as you unravel and burn. They want you to react, to show that you care, that you are vulnerable, that they have power over you. And in that moment, when you respond, you surrender. You give them the weapon they need to control you. But the one who is truly strong understands that there is a far greater power in silence. The powerful remain unmoved by the words or actions of others. They do not waste their energy on petty provocations. They do not chase after validation or seek to correct every slight. They remain calm, composed, indifferent to the storm that others create. In their silence, there is strength. When you refuse to react, you send a message far stronger than any words. You tell the world that you are untouchable, unshakable, that you will not lower yourself to the level of those who seek to provoke you. You show that you cannot be moved, manipulated, or controlled. You become the calm in the storm, the stillness that cannot be disturbed. And in this stillness, in this silence, you become invincible. For those who react reveal their weakness. But those who remain silent, those who refuse to be provoked, hold all the power. Treat everything with light irony. Why humor dismantles others' manipulations. Humor is the weapon of the truly free. It is the quiet force that dismantles all attempts to control, manipulate, or deceive. When you respond to the world with irony, when you see the absurdity in everything, you disarm those who would try to impose their will upon you. The moment you laugh at something that is supposed to be serious, the moment you raise a brow at an attempt to manipulate you, you take the power away from those who seek to control your mind and emotions. To treat life with a sense of irony is to acknowledge that, beneath the surface of all things, there is a great absurdity. You see the world as it truly is, a chaotic dance of egos, of games, of struggles for control. And you understand that none of it matters in the grand scheme. There is a higher perspective, one that elevates you above the mundane tactics of others. When someone tries to manipulate you with guilt, with pressure, or with guilt trips, respond with a smile. When they try to use your insecurities against you, laugh softly, knowing that their power is only rooted in your willingness to take them seriously. Humor is the release valve that frees you from their grip. You refuse to be taken in by their drama, their lies, their fear-mongering. You stand above it with a knowing grin because you know the game. And once you know the game, no one can play you. In this lightness, in this irony, lies immense strength. For you cannot be controlled by those who cannot shake you. When you laugh at manipulation, it ceases to exist. The manipulator becomes a clown, their tactics exposed, their power stripped away. You render their influence meaningless, for they can no longer use your emotions against you. To see the world with irony is not to deny the suffering, the hardship, or the chaos. It is to see it for what it is, temporary, fleeting, and ultimately absurd. And when you understand this, you understand that no one has the power to make you suffer unless you grant them that power. You transcend manipulation, not by fighting it, but by seeing through it. And in doing so, you laugh. Be busy, but do not explain why. Your time is your value. There is an ancient truth that most fail to grasp. Time is the one thing in life that cannot be reclaimed once it is lost. To waste it is to squander your most precious resource. And so the truly powerful understand the worth of their time, and they guard it fiercely, as they would a rare gem. The more valuable you become, the more you realize that your time is not to be shared freely, not to be explained or justified. It simply is, and in its scarcity lies its strength. When you are busy, when you are engaged in your work, your passions, your pursuits, you do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to tell others where your time goes or why it is spent in a certain way. The very fact that you are engaged in something, that you are focused, sends a message stronger than any words. You are not here to entertain others with your itinerary. You are not here to satisfy their curiosity or their need for validation. Your time is yours, and it is not up for negotiation. Those who seek to know the details of your every action, every moment, do not understand the value of time. They are often seeking to drain it, to steal it, to make it theirs. But when you refuse to explain, when you keep your purpose silent, you create an aura of mystery. You become an enigma. You do not need to justify why you are busy, because you understand that the act of being busy is in itself a statement. The moment you explain, you lessen the value of your time. You diminish its worth by making it transparent, by offering it up for inspection and approval. The greatest minds, the most powerful individuals throughout history, were not the ones who explained themselves at every turn. They did not offer their time to be scrutinized or examined. They lived in such a way that their actions spoke louder than any explanation could. And by doing so, they commanded respect. They created a sense of awe around them, because their time became a rare, precious commodity, something not to be understood or wasted, but something to be coveted. So be busy. Be engaged. But never explain why. Let the world wonder. Let them try to decipher your movements, your choices, your priorities. And in doing so, you will create a sense of importance and mystery around you, because you understand the true value of your time. They will try to conquer you, the inevitable reaction to your inaccessibility. In a world where everyone is craving validation, desperate for attention, and constantly reaching for connection, there is an undeniable power in being untouchable. To be inaccessible is to be different, to stand apart from the noise, to rise above the clamor of those who would demand your time, your energy, your presence. And when you do this, when you remain elusive, when you are not easily grasped or possessed, you become a puzzle to be solved, a challenge to be overcome. The human instinct is one of conquest. To possess, to claim, to conquer is an ancient drive. And when someone cannot easily claim you, when they cannot easily understand you, they will instinctively seek to break down the barriers you have set. It is an inevitable response to your inaccessibility. You become a treasure that they must seek, a challenge they must win. The harder you are to reach, the more desperate they become to conquer you. What they do not realize is that by remaining unattainable, you hold the true power. You control the dynamic. You force them to work for your attention, to earn your time, to prove themselves worthy of even a glimpse of you. And in that pursuit, they reveal their own weaknesses, their own vulnerabilities. They show you their hunger for validation, their desire to possess what they cannot have. They become consumed by the chase, driven not by genuine connection, but by the challenge you present. But this is where your true strength lies, not in being captured or conquered, but in being unconquerable. You will never be owned, never be claimed, never be reduced to another object of desire. You remain beyond reach, and that is what makes you irresistible. You control the game, and you dictate the terms. In this way, your inaccessibility becomes a weapon. It creates an aura of mystery and intrigue, an unspoken challenge that others cannot resist. And as they try, as they strain against your walls, they will only reinforce your power. Because to conquer you would be to solve a riddle, to unravel a mystery. And the stronger your enigma, the more valuable you become. And in that, you hold the key to everything. First, they will hate you, then respect you, then worship you, the 3 stages of influence of the indifferent. The path of the indifferent is not for the faint of heart. It is a journey marked by resistance, defiance, and at times, isolation. To adopt indifference as your armor is to step away from the herd, to reject the expectations of the world and the people who seek to bind you with their desires and needs. It is a path that begins with rejection, passes through respect, and ultimately leads to reverence. At first, those around you will hate you. They will not understand you. In their ignorance, they will label you as cold, distant, and uncaring. They will see your indifference as a threat to their own fragile worlds, where attention is currency and validation is the lifeblood of interaction. Your refusal to bow to their expectations, your refusal to offer your energy freely, will unsettle them. They will not know what to do with someone who is untouchable, someone who exists beyond their grasp. They will hate you because your very existence exposes their weakness. But then, as time passes, they will come to respect you. They will begin to see that your indifference is not weakness, but strength. They will recognize that you are not ruled by the petty forces that control them. You do not seek their approval, their attention, or their affection. You are untethered, free, and they will envy that freedom. Respect will replace their hatred because they will see in you a power they cannot possess, something they must strive for, something they must learn from. And finally, they will worship you. For in the end, it is the truly indifferent, those who have mastered the art of living without the need for others' validation, who command the deepest reverence. You become a symbol of what they aspire to, independent, untouchable, beyond the reach of the mundane. They will elevate you, not because you sought it, but because you have become the embodiment of something they can never achieve. Your indifference, your refusal to conform, becomes a force of nature, something to be admired, even revered. Thus, the indifferent walk a path of paradox. At first, they are rejected, then respected, and finally worshipped. And in the end, they hold all the power, not because they sought it, but because they chose to remain untouched by the desires of others. Their power lies not in what they give, but in what they withhold. Only the strong can afford indifference. The weak always struggle for attention. There exists a profound truth hidden within the struggle for attention, one that only the strong truly understand. It is the weak, the insecure, the ones clinging to approval, who endlessly fight for acknowledgement. They wear their needs on their sleeves, desperate for validation, consumed by the hunger to be seen, heard, and recognized. They squander their energy seeking the fleeting rewards of attention, never realizing that it is their very dependence on it that renders them powerless. The strong, however, have no such need. They have transcended this petty desire. Their worth is not determined by the gaze of others. It is inherent, unshakable, and untouchable. They understand that attention is not a measure of their value. It is a commodity to be controlled, not chased. Indifference, for them, is not a sign of weakness, but a manifestation of inner strength. To be indifferent is to stand in a place where external forces have no sway over their peace, no influence over their actions. It is a realm where their energy is entirely their own, where they are not moved by the whims and desires of others. The indifference of the strong is a shield, a tool that protects their time, their thoughts, and their purpose. It is a sign of self-sufficiency, of knowing that they are complete on their own, without the need for constant reinforcement from the outside world. They do not seek approval because they are not defined by it. They know that those who fight for attention are merely chasing shadows, never understanding that the greatest power lies in withholding oneself from a trivial game of external validation. Indifference, for them, is not a retreat. it is a stance. A powerful one. It is a deliberate choice, made from a place of certainty and self-reliance. They do not engage in the noise of the weak because they know that it is futile. To fight for attention is to place oneself in a position of inferiority, to make one's worth contingent on something outside of oneself. The strong, however, are above such things. They are not moved by praise or insult. They are not seduced by the fleeting pleasures of recognition. They stand firm, unaffected, and unyielding. In the end, only the strong can afford the luxury of indifference. The weak will forever scramble for what they cannot keep, exhausting themselves in the process. But the strong stand apart, undistracted, in full control of their own narrative. As you reflect on these truths, remember this: true power lies in your ability to remain untouchable by the chaos of the world. Cultivate your indifference, embrace your strength, and let the world chase after you. May you walk your path with purpose, unshaken and unbothered. Stay strong, stay untouchable, and may your silence speak louder than words.